All right, so welcome everybody to the August 2022 edition of the Collaboration Cafe, which is sponsored by the Midwest Big Data Innovation Hub with support from NSF. I'm John MacMullen. I'm the Executive Director of the Hub, and I'm very happy today to have two folks from NSF joining us, Medhi and Peter Atherton, who are both program directors with responsibility for the POSE program that we're looking at today. So they will be able to speak with us later in the hour about questions that we have on the program. We often on this call will have prior awardees of the program that we're looking at to give us their experiences with the proposal process and the progress that they've made on their projects. But this is a brand new program for NSF this year. And so the first round of awards under the phase one track have not been made yet. So we're going to have a future session where we talk to POSE awardees maybe next year. All right, so for those of you who are new to the Midwest Hub or who are watching this recording later, I'll just give you a very quick overview of who we are and what we do. And I'll go pretty quickly through these slides, but you can access them on our website and watch the recording later on our YouTube channel. So we are part of a national network of 4 big data innovation hubs that has been funded by NSF since 2015. We're in our second phase at this point, and we're really focused on building communities and collaborations around data science and cyber infrastructure in our specific regions, but also together as a national network. In the Midwest, we have a number of priority areas and themes that we focus on, and these are really driven by the regional strengths that we have and the community interests in these areas. The Midwest Hub is a partnership of 6 universities in the Midwest, and it's led here at University of Illinois, but with partners across the region as well. And our topic today really aligns, I think, most closely with the 2 cross-cutting themes that we have around workforce development in data science and cyber infrastructure. All right, so what is this series all about? We have had a lot of community input about the need for ways to bring together people from multiple disciplines and multiple institutions to talk about proposal development and collaboration across those boundaries. And so this is our monthly platform to do that. This is actually our end of our first year of this series. We started last September, and so we're getting ready to start our second year next month, and I'll give you a preview of what those topics are that are coming up in a little bit here. But this webinar is really the way that we support those collaboration building activities and try to develop those relationships across institutional boundaries in our region. Beyond this webinar itself, we do have a number of other resources available to folks who are interested in proposal development and collaboration. So we have a Slack community, we have a Google Drive that has a set of documents that I think will be instructive to folks looking at these programs. That includes lists of prior awards that have been made so that you can get a sense of what other folks are working on and what those teams look like. And you can certainly check out any of those prior sessions on our YouTube channel as well. The Hub itself does collaborate with projects on proposals. We have a couple of ways that we do that. One is sort of a informal approach where we provide letters of collaboration and help folks with communications and outreach for their projects. But we also take more active engagement in projects. And so we're always happy to talk with you about the ways that we can help support your activities in either of those cases. We're particularly focused right now on the NSF Engines program and building potential collaborations as a core partner across the Midwest. All right, so let's get into the details of today's topic, which is the NSF POSE program. This is the new pathways to enable open source ecosystems. And this is a two-track program. And so, as I alluded to earlier, the phase one track was out for proposals earlier this year, and those have, I believe, gone through the review process at this point. And now we're looking today at the phase two track, which is a larger scale and a longer time horizon. But in general, what NSF is trying to do with this program is develop and support organizations that really sustain open source ecosystems around research related software. And so helping to move beyond that initial development period and focus on the community development and engagement elements of that work. For the phase two program, there is approximately 10 awards that NSF is anticipating making. So relatively small opportunity. The budgets are up to $1.5 million for up to 2-year period. So during that period of time, you're trying to do some research on what that community looks like, what their needs are, and how you really start to grow that ecosystem of partners over that period of time. For this program, there is no letter of intent required or pre-proposal, but this is a multi-directorate program. And so there's a number of different NSF directorates who are interested in seeing proposals for this. And so we do encourage you to reach out to a program officer in the directorate that aligns best with the concept that you have to make sure that you're submitting that in the right place. Let's talk a little about eligibility. So the phase one, phase two nomenclature may be a little confusing in that you do not have to have submitted a phase one proposal in order to propose to the phase two track here. So nor do you have to do a phase two proposal if you are awarded a phase one in the future. There are no restrictions on the number of proposals that a PI can submit or on the number that an organization submits. You obviously want to keep that reasonable given the number of awards that will be made, but no restrictions on that front. They do require that if you have a multi-institution collaboration, that you have a single lead institution, and then any of your collaborators would be sub-awards under that proposal. This is open beyond higher education institutions to nonprofits, for-profit organizations. So this program is in the new TIP directorate, which is focused on cross-sector collaborations. And so for-profit organizations are eligible, along with some government agencies and school districts as well. So, keep that in mind as well. If you're thinking about partners for this program, those can come from academia, but also industry, government, other nonprofits as well. All right, so let's talk a little bit about what is in this solicitation. It's a very rich solicitation in terms of text and guidance that NSF is providing to us. I did want to alert you that the official program webinar will be September 9th, so coming up in a couple of weeks here. They will do, I'm sure, a similar run through of the program guidelines and answer questions from the audience. So that is usually a very informative session. On the POSE website, there are links to the prior recording that was held in March ahead of the phase one due date, along with some FAQs and other information. So definitely you want to check that out if you're proposing to this round of funding. A lot of the questions that you may have are probably already addressed in the FAQ document. I did want to talk with our guests today about how this program relates to some of the other cyber infrastructure programs at NSF. So if you think about CSSI, for example, or CCRI, some of the projects resulting from those programs may align with the goals for this program, obviously focusing more on the community aspects of that. But thinking about work that has been done at your institution previously and how it may fit with this is a great place to start. I've captured some of the guidance from the solicitation here about how to scope this and what the intent is from NSF's perspective for this program. And so really, again, it's not meant to continue to develop the technical dimensions of the open source system, but really on growing and building that community of participants, whether it's developers, end users, other kinds of collaborators for this system. And we can get into some of those scoping details, I think, in a bit during the Q&A session to get a sense of exactly where those guardrails are around, how you can expend the funds in what areas. All right, so if you have ever submitted an NSF proposal before, this will look pretty similar to you. You'll have a project summary page and a description of the project, your budget, things like that. I wanted to highlight a few unique items for the POSE program. You'll see these in the solicitation, where they have some specific requirements for you to make sure that you include in your proposal, and that includes everything from the title format to other dimensions here. They really want to see how you're planning to develop this ecosystem. So again, it goes beyond a software product or system and really gets into the details of how you're building that collection of partners and participants there. So again, what is that outreach plan? What are the specific activities that you're using to do that? And then how are you governing this ecosystem and this collaboration? What's the plan for maintaining and organizing that? There is some requirement for training sessions for project team members. And so they're requesting that you budget for that as well. These are online sessions, but you can request budget for participation in those, since it is an extensive time commitment for that. And then let's look for a minute here at some of the supplementary material that's required. As is the case with almost all NSF proposals, you need a data management plan for the outputs that come out of this project. But in this case, you also need a security plan that handles the details of your source code and other sensitive information. Particularly if you have human subjects research as a part of this, you need a sensitive data plan as well. Tracking all of your partners and collaborators and what their roles are is another piece of that. And sort of related to that is the letters of collaboration piece. They would really like to see some details about who those partners are and what their specific roles and commitments are in this project. And so in this particular case, you do not have to follow the standard template for NSF collaboration letters. They want to see some more detail up to 2 pages maximum there. All right, and they do have a very helpful checklist in the solicitation for more details about exactly what you need to submit and where that needs to appear in your proposal. All right, so let's finish up our overview here with a sense of what kind of process they use for reviewing these proposals. And, again, this may look familiar to folks who have proposed to NSF before, because you'll see the standard merit review principles around intellectual merit and broader impacts. We're not going to go through all of the other criteria here, but there are additional criteria for the POSE program and the phase 2 branch of that in particular. So, as we've discussed on this webinar before, NSF and other federal agencies really give proposers a lot of guidance in their solicitations about what a successful proposal looks like, and what specifically they would like to see you talk about in your proposal. And so if you take a look at these review criteria, that it's a long list, but what that does is really help you understand exactly what you need to have in your proposal to address the reviewers' questions when they read that. So definitely spend some time with the solicitation and go through the details here, because that will help you in the long run as you develop that. All right, so before we move on, are there any questions that you all have right now? We'll get into a Q&A with our guests in a moment here, but any questions you'd like to ask before we, just for clarification, before we get into that discussion? All right, we can certainly get into that momentarily. What I'd like to do at this point is stop talking at you and start talking with you. But before I do that, I want to tell the folks who are watching the recording that you should come back in the future so you can join in our discussion. Coming up next month, we'll be talking about building a workshop in the Midwest on data for healthy, resilient communities. That's a couple of our theme areas, and we're looking for collaborators around that. We'll be framing that through the lens of the NIH workshop proposal mechanism. And then in October, we'll come back to NSF again and look at the CI Center of Excellence program. We want to have a conversation with folks in the region here about what a workforce development for CI Center of Excellence might look like here in the Midwest. So if you're interested in either of those topics or both, we'd love to have you come back for those sessions. But for those who are watching the recording, thanks for tuning in, and we hope to see you soon.